Good morning and welcome to Homepage, a public affairs feature of 93.7 Country and Wind FM 92.5, 95.5, and 107.9. I'm Kathy Dugan. My guest this morning is my dear friend, Kevin Christian, Director of Public Relations and Multimedia Productions at Marion County Public Schools. Kevin, I always love having you on the show.
Hello. I always love being with you and talking with you. We just have a great time and we talk about great things.
Yeah, we do. And one of the great things is something that I've been a part of for a really long time, and I wasn't sure how it was going to work out this year. The Student Media Festival. Now, that happens every year. This year it was postponed, and then it was done really differently. So tell us about that difference.
Well, generally, we hold a festival that is very comparable to the Oscars or some big party where hundreds of people come. And we've actually, in years past, we have packed out the house at Westport High School, so much so that we had to move it to Marion Technical Institute, MTI. They're on Fort King Street, and we have more than 1,000 people who pack that auditorium to cheer on students and their winning video projects. It truly is amazing. You've seen those projects, some of them over the years, Kathy, and those kids are amazing. There are some projects, usually that win first place and or best of show, that actually could go on any TV network right now.
Oh, they totally can.
That's how amazing they are.
And some of them are elementary school kids.
Absolutely. We do K through 12. We have students, hundreds of students involved in video production programs at every school at every grade level. And this festival started 19 years ago to truly honor those students. It's all about the kids and giving them recognition that they deserve. And as I said, traditionally, we've done that in grand fashion, in person, with a big ceremony where they walk across the stage, and we air it live on our YouTube and local education channels. This year, COVID-19 tried to defeat us, but it didn't, because we moved everything online.
Wow.
In years past, our judges, of which you have participated, have gathered together face-to-face early on a Saturday morning to score all of those entries. And this year we had over 300. I think it was around 300.
Oh, wow.
And this year we put all of those videos online, and our judges reviewed them and scored them from the comfort of home, and we tallied all those scores. And then we were challenged with, oh, my goodness, well, now we know the winners. What are we going to do?
Right.
So we put, through the magic of post-production, we put that show together, and a local TV personality out of the Orlando market, who was a former television news reporter in this market, actually hosted it for us. And we debuted that on a Friday night recently and announced who won first place, second place, third place, and best of shows.
Wow.
So it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of work, different kind of work.
Yeah, not like you normally do. You're usually running around crazy behind the scenes, making sure everything's together, and you always look very handsome, I must say.
Well, you're very kind.
Yeah.
You're very kind.
Aww.
But, it was all about the kids. It was all a way to celebrate them. That's what the impetus was 19 years ago, and that's what it continues to be today.
That's fantastic. Now, it debuted. Does that mean that we can see it still?
Oh, it is there for perpetuity. On our YouTube channel. That's a big word.
That's a great word. I love when you use big words. They're wonderful. I'm so glad they can still be viewed. Now, I would ask who the winners were, but that would kind of ruin it for everybody.
Well, I will tell you that I'm looking at $1,000 checks right now in my hand that I have for 4 different schools.
Wow.
2 elementary, 1 middle, 1 high school, and that's all I'll say.
There you go. You got to be surprised. Check it out. That's amazing. Wow. Now, learning, oh my goodness, has changed so much because of the pandemic. First, how did distance learning in the final quarter work out?
Well, for some students, it was fine. For other students, though, they just really didn't participate by choice. And then we had other students who were challenged to even be part of the process because they don't have reliable internet service. Every school district in this country now has to deal with the reality of 100% online learning.
Man.
Now, in our district, we plan to have about 70% of our students returning.
That's good news.
That's what parents have told us over the last 2 or 3 months. So we anticipate having about 31,000 students back in the classrooms. That actually will help us with safe social distancing.
Okay.
We won't have as many students on campus, so that's a plus when it comes to the precautions that we're taking.
Sure.
The other third will be in what we call MCPS Online.
Okay.
Which is similar to what our students experienced in the last quarter of last year, but far more structured and far more accountable.
So you kind of have a plan now, whereas before it's like, oh my gosh, we're trying to learn all of this on the fly and throw this together. Now you were able to sit down, take a breather, and go, let's straighten this out. Let's figure out how this is going to work.
I'm not sure we took a breather.
I don't think you guys actually did, really.
But the students are held to a greater standard in terms of their participation.
Good.
Last quarter of last school year, the school board granted a lot of forgiveness, if you will.
Yep.
When it came to grades. That forgiveness is not there anymore. It is students will get the grade that they actually earn.
Wow.
There's accountability in terms of checking in every day with teachers and making sure that those Zoom sessions or those Microsoft Teams sessions are happening and those students are taking part in that.
I'm curious, with now the teachers that are on site teaching their regular classes with students, are they going to also be teaching at the same time to the kids at home?
We are not doing that.
Okay.
Because we feel it's in the best interest of effective instruction. That's fancy for saying we think kids learn better
Very good.
when they have their own teacher right there in front of them.
That sounds good.
So I think having teachers teach online and in person at the same time takes away from their effectiveness.
I imagine that would be difficult for both the teacher and for the student as well. I wasn't sure how that was going to work out, but yeah, that's definitely a plus that they're going to have that one-on-one time with the teacher. Now, with not all of the kids going back to the classroom, there's still going to be quite a few. And you guys, the teachers are there right now. They are at the school learning to cope, some new coping mechanisms with the pandemic. Right. So tell us about the training they're undergoing.
Well, our school board determined that they wanted to delay the start of school for students. Typically, we would have started Monday, August 10th, but our students will return now on Monday, August 24th. So that's a 2-week delay, if you will. And what our employees are doing during those 2 weeks, in addition to teachers doing their teacher lesson plans and those kinds of things, all of our employees are also undergoing training to better clean and disinfect their classrooms and their school campuses. We are all doing this together. We all have to deal with COVID-19 together, regardless of how you feel about it.
Yeah.
But we all have to take precautions like wiping down, disinfecting desks, doorknobs, light switches. We have turned our water fountains into water stations, which means you can fill up a water bottle, but we don't want you putting your mouth near that where the water comes out for health reasons, obviously.
Definitely.
Things like that. Also, considerations for hallways that are one way. You go this way on the first floor, you go that way on the second floor. Maintaining safe social distancing. Our schools are receiving decals to put on the floors, posters to put up all over campus, all kinds of COVID-19 signage. So all of our staff members, teachers, paraprofessionals, all of our support folks, even our bus drivers, are learning how to better do their jobs when it comes to cleaning and disinfecting those areas and surfaces that students come into contact with.
And you forget about a lot of those. I come in every morning and I disinfect our studio, and you forget about things. It's like, oh, well, let me disinfect the light switch, the doorknobs, the thermostat control. People touch that all the time.
The handles on your chair.
Yes, exactly. The chair itself, I spray the chair down.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So there's a lot of that happening. We also have training going on for the learning platform that we're using, which is Microsoft Teams.
Okay.
For the most part, we have a couple of other choices for teachers, but our emphasis is on Microsoft Teams because we're called what you might say a Microsoft district. We use the Outlook suite, and our students have 24/7 free access to Office 365, which is the word processing, spreadsheets, PowerPoint presentations. They have access to all of that already built in.
Fantastic.
So it just makes sense that all of that would integrate, and that's the direction we would lean.
That's what we do here as well. I love Microsoft Teams. I think it's a fantastic platform, and I can see how easy it would be for students and teachers to use. Now, when they're teaching, how's that work? Is there going to be like a certain number of students to one teacher ratio when they're using Teams?
We still have to abide by class size reduction amendment.
Mm-hmm.
So those class sizes of 18, I believe it's 18, 22, and 24 or 25, depending on the grade level, in core classes, we still have to abide by that. But keep in mind now that 2/3 of our students will be physically on campus and 1/3 will be online.
Okay.
So the 2/3 that are on campus, those class sizes will still be structured. Typically, a teacher might have 18 to 20 to 22 kids in a class. Well, now they're only going to have 2/3 of that. So they're going to have 14 kids.
Okay.
So those desks, those student areas can be further spaced out to maintain safe social distancing.
Okay. Now
we do the same in all of the classrooms. The biggest concern for us comes when students have to leave that classroom and perhaps interact with other students in the hallways during class changes, or perhaps when they go to the cafeteria to get their lunch.
Mm-hmm.
In some cases, they will eat lunch in the cafeteria, but in most cases, either the food will be delivered to their classrooms or they will go to the cafeteria, pick up their box lunch, come back to the classroom and eat.
Wow.
We're trying to limit the exposure times that we call them cohorts, but groups of students.
Right.
We're trying to keep them together, the same kids with the same teacher every day.
That's got to be so difficult to plan out. I can't even imagine all the work you guys have done.
Well, just imagine doing it in your household and multiplying that by about 3,000.
Okay, I'm really bad at that in my household, so so you can imagine how I would be with this. Wow.
It is a massive undertaking, but as I said earlier, it is teamwork. It has to be teamwork.
Yeah, it does.
That's what makes it.
Yeah, teamwork makes the dream work.
There you go.
I love that. We talked about the crowded hallways, and you do have those things in place so that you won't have that big of a problem. But, I mean, you're still going to have I'm trying to wrap my head around how that's going to work, even if they're just going one way. There's still quite a few students going down the hallway.
Well, there are, but keep in mind, if it's one way, you're not encountering them face to face. Everybody's faced the same direction and going in the same direction.
Okay.
So, and they will, of course, have masks on or face shields, some type of face covering. We have a resolution that is school board approved that requires that of anybody on school property.
Mm-hmm.
So when you cannot safely social distance, you will have a mask on or a face shield or some type of face covering.
Wow. Well, we've got to do what we've got to do to keep everybody safe, right?
Well, safety is the key right now.
Mm-hmm.
And we always want our kids to be safe. This is a different kind of safe. You know, in years past, we talked about campus intruders.
Right.
And those kinds of things. And now we're talking about something that we can't see, feel, taste. You know, it's there. It's just invisible. And we have to take, maybe some people would call it strange precautions, but we have to do what we have to do to keep our kids and our staff members safe.
You know, isn't that the worst kind of intruder, too? Something like this, like COVID-19, that you can't see.
Well, none of us have ever dealt with anything like this.
No. Wow.
So,
now, how is this going to affect extracurricular activities like sports and clubs? I was thinking about like marching band buses, cheerleaders, pyramids. And
it affects every one of those situations. And right now, our students have been in practice, rehearsal, whatever you want to call it, for the last few weeks. They're actually in what's called third quarter right now.
Mm-hmm.
We have a plan for our kids to be able to resume those kinds of activities fully and completely, but it's a 4-quarter plan, and right now we're in third quarter, which means they can practice or rehearse in groups of no larger than 10 students at a time.
Okay.
So you can imagine that's very limiting. You take a marching band that may have 100 students in it. Well, you can't put 100 students together and rehearse.
No.
But you can take 10 groups of 10 and put them in different areas of the campus.
That's true.
And rehearse right now.
My band teacher used to call it woodshedding. Yeah, my band teacher in high school, she'd call it woodshedding. Drummers, you go here, and flutes, you go over there. You're woodshedding.
Think about it. This is marching band season.
It is.
So you can't put everybody on the field at the same time.
Oh.
So a lot of what we do when it comes to extracurricular sports activities depends on what the Florida High School Athletic Association does. And, of course, we have to follow their mandates, if you will.
Sure.
So we just kind of wait and see what they're going to do. And right now, as the time that you and I are making this recording, third quarter is where it stands.
Wow. So when it comes to games, are we going to see fans in the stands or maybe not?
Again, FHSAA is we anticipate something from them. If they don't offer any kind of guidance, our stadiums at all of our high schools are still taped off from graduation. And you remember all of that, where each student only had 2 tickets. So I guess the worst case scenario would be no spectators in the stands.
Right.
Next to that would be 2 spectators per player, I guess.
Well, yeah, at least that would be something, right?
It would be something, but even that, again, FHSAA, we have to abide by their directives or we get sanctioned. So
Wow.
we kind of have to wait and see if there's going to be an opportunity for spectators. You look at professional sports, they don't have spectators now.
No, it's so weird. When you're watching basketball, you can hear the squeaks on the court constantly.
Yeah.
It was so weird. I was watching it. I'm not a big sports fan, but my husband's like, come here, you've got to see it. It's so eerie. And it's so strange because we're not used to it. Everybody talks about the new normal. And
I don't know what the new normal is.
I don't know either.
Because it changes every day.
Yes, it does.
It really does.
I just want it to be normal. I think we all do at this point.
We all want it to go back to the way it was, and I'm not sure that we'll ever get back to that point. I hope we do.
The nice thing is with kids, they're very adaptable, and they seem to be, from what I've seen, a lot of the kids I've talked to, they're trying to adapt to this. It's not easy at all, but they're making the best of it.
I think students are better able to adapt because it's built in to being a kid.
Mm-hmm.
They're better able to adapt to changing situations than we as adults are because we get set in our ways and we don't like to change our ways at times.
No, we don't.
When you're a child, you're not given the opportunity of whether you want to or not. You're just told this is the way it is. So kids are very adaptable in many situations, including this. So even when I walked through classrooms during our summer school program, kids were wearing their masks. They were safely social distanced. There were 5, 6, 7 students in a classroom. That was very strange, but that's what our classrooms are going to look like. You're not going to walk in and see 25 students sitting right beside each other.
And the kind of cool thing is the way that they're so adaptable, they'll take those face masks and they'll make them into a fashion trend. It'll be some new way. You've seen
Absolutely. I have.
I have one with sparkles on mine, so
Well, I don't have sparkles, but admittedly, I have bought a few masks to complement whatever I'm wearing.
Good.
You can take that for what it's worth.
Well, it helps out with their personalities, and they'll make the best of it. They'll make it fun. But what about things like proms and homecoming dances and big homecoming games? Do you see those being put on hold for the indefinite future?
I see them being put on hold based on CDC recommendations.
Okay.
That's kind of the Bible for us right now, and I'm not trying to analogize the two, but that's the standard. That's the code book that everybody goes to, is whatever the CDC is recommending at the time, and we all know that changes.
It does.
From time to time.
Oh,
groups of 10, groups of 25, groups of 50, groups of 100.
Right.
We've seen that even from our governor. So we are going to base all of that on CDC recommendations, and of course, we work with our health department, Mr. Lander, over there on a regular basis.
Great people.
I want to say we plan to have all of those as of today.
Wow. Well, I hope that we can, and if not, I'm sure the kids will find a creative way to make something happen virtually because they're so smart. I mean, they're the ones that know how to use the computers better than we do, cell phones and everything, and they'll come up with a way to make this virtual and still make it fun for themselves.
I think if you look at what's happened over the last 6 months and how school districts and communities have honored students, be it graduates or whatever the case, creativity, it's always there. And
Yeah.
it always happens. When we want to honor our kids for their efforts and their successes, we find a way to make it work.
I've loved
It
how
may
people
not
have done
be
it.
the way that it's always been, but it's a way to give them honor and recognition.
And some people, the way that they've done it is just so amazing, and it's wonderful. And it's even bigger than a graduation for them, or a dance or whatever.
There were a lot of people who said, I just feel so sorry for this graduating class.
Yeah.
All of these things have been robbed from them. They've not been able to do this and this and this and that. And yeah, all of that's true. They have not been able to do those things. But my goodness, 20, 30, 40 years from now, when you look back and say, hey, do you remember when I was in high school and the class of 2020, we didn't even almost have a graduation?
Yep.
I mean, they're going to have that kind of a memory.
They'll be legendary.
It will be.
They
Epic.
will.
Epic.
It's something that they're going to look back on and go, nobody else went through what we went
Nobody
through.
else.
Wow.
Hopefully the class of 2021 will be beyond this.
We really hope so. Oh, my gosh. We hope so. So
Yeah.
With transportation, are there going to be extra buses so students can keep social distancing?
We have almost 300 buses that roll around Marion County every school day.
Okay.
We have about 25,000 kids who ride the bus, so that's more than half of our students who depend on us to get them to school safely and to get them home safely.
Right.
We have a lot of precautions that are on the bus because we're not going to jam-pack a bus intentionally, but we are going to fill those buses up as safely and as efficiently as we can.
Okay.
What that means is there could be 2 students to a seat, but those students will be wearing some kind of face covering. You have to remember, when safe social distancing is not possible, that's when the face coverings come into play.
Absolutely.
So we are prepared for those students who simply refuse to wear a face covering. They will be seated in the front of the bus, but we will load the buses from the back. So if you're the first kid on the bus in the morning, you'll go to the back seat, and we'll fill that bus up, not completely, but we'll fill it up from the back moving forward to limit the number of students that any student has to pass by.
And you'd mentioned that not only are the teachers and the administrators going through this 3 weeks of special training, the bus drivers are as well.
Absolutely, yes. It is part of their essential job every day that they disinfect between routes, meaning they will clean their bus either the day before, the night before, or that morning. Actually, they'll do it the night before. So that when they come in, they can start their route immediately. They'll run their first routes, which is typically elementary students, pick those kids up, take them to school. Then before they start their second route for middle and high school, they will disinfect all of those seats and all of those high-touch areas.
Wow.
After they do that and take those middle and high school kids to their school, they will clean the bus again for the elementary students getting on in the afternoon, clean it again in between routes, and then when they drive their bus to the compound at the end of the day, they will do what most people would call a deep clean.
Okay.
Which is more intense, and they do that every evening.
Wow. So give extra love to your teachers and to your bus drivers and administrators.
Everybody's working hard.
Yes.
Yep.
Wow.
Everybody's working hard. And, our students are the ones, I really don't think we're going to have many issues with students wearing masks.
Nah.
It's just become part of the culture now.
It really has. And, like I said, I see kids out there, they're wearing them outside, because they're a fashion statement now.
Yes. Now, we will have what you want to call face covering breaks, face mask breaks, whatever term it comes into being. When kids are outside, particularly when they're taking PE classes or something like that, where they can take a break and they can get some fresh air.
That's
and
awesome.
Adults, too.
Oh, that'll feel good. Because I know how it's difficult for so many people to wear the masks because we're not used to it. So as grown-ups, a lot of us are going, no, I don't like them, but we have to set good examples for our children.
Absolutely. We have a saying in the church world, so goes the pulpit, so goes the pew.
Amen.
So whatever kids see modeled, that's the behavior that they will model.
And they're looking at you, mom and dad, and their neighbors and their grandparents. And so be good examples. And,
we know this is a tough time for all of us. We know it's a big time challenge for families who are very concerned. We have multi-general families in houses now, in homes.
Yes.
And, not unusual to have 2 or 3 generations. And with older folks in the home, sometimes they are more susceptible to this pandemic.
Sure.
And so we recognize those situations, and that's why we gave parents options in the first place. They wanted choices, so we gave them those choices. And for those who are choosing the online option, again, that's about a third of our student body, we will make that work for them. And CPS Online will be 5 days a week, and those teachers will be there interacting with those students and looking for those students every day.
That's fantastic. Now, what about those kids who are just really having a hard time of not being in that normal social setting with their classmates? Are there any counseling or mental health resources for them?
It's interesting you say that, because the mental health aspect has been something that's been brought up on multiple occasions.
Yeah.
And yes, even the state of Florida, starting a couple years ago, recognized that children's mental health has to be addressed.
It does.
So yes, we have school counselors, we have psychologists on staff, we have a whole mental health plan that is state approved that's in place now for students to regularly use and to really be a resource for parents too, who recognize that their kids are struggling with things.
It's
I
hard.
encourage parents who see that, reach out to the school, reach out to the teacher, because they all have been trained for that. There's a required annual training for that. So
that's fantastic. And what about the kids who are having some problems actually doing the distance learning and need extra help with their studies, and maybe mom and dad aren't up to par on it?
Again, that's a discussion that can happen between the teacher and the student, and we have all kinds of programs in place that can help with that. Obviously, face-to-face programs are more challenging these days, but we still have those programs. We still had a program for a couple thousand kids over the summer that brought them into the classroom during the summer day to offer them extra help. So student success is still what we're about, regardless of what we're dealing with. We have to educate our kids. We have to prepare them to succeed in the future, whatever the future looks like and whatever challenges are posed in the future. We have to teach our kids how to cope with that.
Absolutely. And you're doing a beautiful job with Marion County Schools, the teachers, the administrative staff, everybody, the bus drivers, just really rising to the occasion and putting themselves out there because they want the best for these kids.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better, Kathy. We have almost 7,000 employees, and they're the ones, I don't like this phrase, but I'll use it, they're making the magic happen.
Yeah, they are.
Wow. And we depend on them in many, many ways to do that.
Absolutely. Anything you'd like to leave us with today, Kevin?
Listen, we're just looking forward to this school year. We know it's going to be different. We have a lot of different things in place. We have a new superintendent. So I really believe it's going to be a great year. It's going to be a challenging year for sure. And at some point, we may go to what we call a second interruption, which is everybody goes back online. We're prepared for that. We have a plan in place. We have teachers ready to go. We have students ready to go if that happens, and our community will go there if we have to go there. But we're really hoping that face-to-face proves to be a continuous plan in the long run, because we know that that is really the best way students learn, face-to-face with their teacher for regular interaction.
Absolutely. Kevin, thank you so much for joining me today and filling me in on everything, filling in our community on everything that's going to be happening with the schools. You guys have a real plan together, and you've worked so hard. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's always a joy to talk with you.
Thank you once again to my guest today, Kevin Christian, Director of Public Relations and Multimedia Productions at Marion County Public Schools. Homepage is presented as a public affairs feature of 93.7 K Country and Wind FM 92.5, 95.5, and 107.9. Your comments are always welcome, and you can email me at homepage@ncfmgroup.com. You can also listen to Homepage by going to our websites at 937kcountry.com and windfm.com. I'm Kathy Dugan. Please join us again next Sunday for Homepage.